Danke für deine Führung während dieses Tages.
that you've gathered us here now together.
Dass du uns hier wieder versammelt hast.
And we ask that you would help us to open our hearts and Seelen.
Und wir bitten jetzt, dass du uns hilfst, unserem Herzen zu öffnen.
That you would able to receive this light that you would to give us.
Dass wir imstande sind, dieses Licht zu empfangen, die du uns geben möchtest.
That is able to heal and to transform our hearts.
Das imstande ist zu heilen und unserem Herzen zu verändern.
So we ask for your blessing and thank you in Jesus' name.
So, wir bitten um deinen Segen und danken dir in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.
And also want to share a few thoughts about this little time of peace.
Und ich wollte auch ein paar Gedanken mitteilen über diese kleine Zeit des Friedens.
And Brother Mark already mentioned a few things about it.
Bruder Mark hat schon bereits einiges darüber hier heute Morgen erwähnt.
And this should really be now one of our focuses in our studies.
In unserem Studium, unser persönliches Studium, das soll eine der Hauptthemen unserer jetzigen Aufmerksamkeit.
Because maybe we are in this little time of peace at the moment.
Denn vielleicht befinden wir uns bereits jetzt in dieser kleinen Zeit.
And this is what we need to find out.
Und das müssen wir schon wissen.
Because if we are in this little time of peace, then we have a clear work to do.
Denn wenn wir doch bereits in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens sind, dann haben wir auch ein Werk zu tun darüber.
Okay, so let us remind ourselves of this little time of peace.
Also lasst uns unsere Gedanken darüber, über diese kleine Zeit des Friedens erfrischen.
Let us read First Testimonies 2:68.
Also diese
Point 1 and 2.
erste Zitat in den Notizen, erste Band der Zeugnisse 268, Punkt 1 und 2.
Okay, Phil, you want to read the first paragraph, please?
Which one is the German one?
First one.
First one.
Was shown the inhabitants of the earth in the utmost confusion, war, bloodshed, privation, want, famine, and pestilence were abroad in the land.
Okay, so what does this remind us of?
Also, was erinnert uns das?
Yes, the shaking of the earth,
Die
right?
Erschütterung der Erde.
So it's war, bloodshed, and all these things on the earth.
Also Blut, Vergießen und Krieg und all diese verschiedenen Dinge sind bereits in der Erde.
And we understand this is the shaking of the earth, right?
Und wir verstehen, dass das hier der Erschütterung der Erde ist.
So, and then just jump down to the next paragraph.
Und zur nächsten Absatz.
My attention was then called from the scene. There seemed to be a little piece of time of peace. Once more the inhabitants of the earth were presented before me, and again everything was in the utmost confusion. Strife, war, and bloodshed, with famine and pestilence rage everywhere.
Okay, so first she sees this war, bloodshed, right? And then she says there's a little time of peace. And then again there's war and bloodshed and all these things, right?
Also zuerst sieht sie diese Kriege und Blutvergießen und all diese verschiedenen Dinge und dann gibt es diese kleine Zeit des Friedens und hier, wie eben geredet, gibt es eine weitere Zeit von Blutvergießen und Krieg und so weiter.
So it's these two times where the earth is shaken.
Diese zwei Male, wo der Erde erschüttert wird.
And there's one time here, this First World War.
Also der erste Mal hier, dieser Erste Weltkrieg.
World War. And then the Second World War, right?
Und dann der Zweite Weltkrieg.
And in between there was this little time of peace.
Und genau inzwischen war diese kleine Zeit des Friedens.
And how many years was it?
Und wie viele Jahre war es?
21 years. Right?
21.
Okay, so and that's the little time of peace. So that's LTP. Right?
Also LTP, kleine Zeit des Friedens.
Okay, so everybody understands this?
Kann jeder das soweit verstehen?
Why we can place these two shakings here?
Warum wir diese zwei Erschütterungen hier markieren?
Because when we maybe read the rest of this second paragraph,
Denn wenn wir diese zweite Absatz in den Zitat zu Ende lesen,
because it says that other nations were engaged in this war and confusion, war caused famine, want and bloodshed caused pestilence, and then men's hearts failed them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. So the second shaking, right, the second war, what is she connecting it with?
also diese zweite Erschütterung, dieser zweite Krieg, mit was verbindet sie es?
Luke 21, right? She quotes
Lukas
here,
21.
she quotes here Luke 21, let's go there quickly.
Sie zitiert Lukas 21 und da gehen wir schnell hin. Das ist auch in den Notizen.
Because she says when the second shaking takes place, she says men's hearts fail them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth.
Sie sagt, wenn diese zweite Erschütterung stattfindet, sie sagt, dass Menschenherzen versagen vor Furcht für die Dinge, die auf der Erde bald kommen.
And this is a quote from Luke 21, verse 26.
Say that again, Lord.
That's a quote from Luke 21, verse 26.
Und dieses Zitat handelt sich über Lukas 21, Vers 6.
26.
21, 26. Sorry.
It says, man's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So when men's hearts are failing them for fear, what time is it?
Also wenn Menschenherzen versagen vor Furcht, welche Zeit ist es?
Yes, it's the shaking of the heaven and the earth,
Das
right?
ist die Erschütterung der Himmel und der Erde.
So therefore the second time is here this second shaking.
Also diese zweite Mal hier ist diese zweite Erschütterung.
Okay, so everybody can follow?
Kann jeder folgen?
So let's stay in Luke 21
Also bleiben wir in Lukas 21 vorerst.
and let's go to verse 7.
Und wie in den Notizen Vers 7 fangen wir an.
And I think Mark, you will also cover this tomorrow morning.
Bruder Mark wird sicherlich morgen früh auch darüber einiges zu sagen.
Okay, but let's read now verse 7 to 9.
Aber wir lesen vorerst Vers 7 bis 9.
Okay, Philip, you want to read this for us?
And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by.
Okay, so about what time is Jesus speaking here?
Also über welche Zeit spricht Jesus hier?
What is the parallel to these verses that we just read?
Zu diesen Versen, die wir
Yes.
gerade gelesen haben, was ist der Parallel?
It's Matthew 24, right?
Also Matthäus
When
24.
they sit on this Mount of Olive and he asked them for the sign of the end of the world, right?
Sie sitzen auf dem Ölberg und sie fragen nach das Zeichen des Endes des Welts.
And then Jesus says, be not deceived. And then in verse 9 he says, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by.
Also er sagt zuerst, sei nicht verführt, und dann in Vers 9 sagt, diese Kriege und sowas muss zuerst stattfinden, aber das Ende ist noch nichts.
So keep your finger here in Luke 21, let's go to Matthew 24.
Also haltet euren Platz in Lukas 21 und geht zu Matthäus 24.
And you can read the parallel verses to this.
Und wir können den Parallelversen dazu auch lesen.
Because here in Matthew 24, verse 4, it says, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Also wir haben gerade die Verse 4, 5 und 6 gelesen.
So it's the parallel to verse 9 in Luke 21 where he says, be not troubled because the end is not yet, right? It's just by and by.
Parallel zu Lukas 21, Vers 9, wo sagt, fürchtet euch nicht, denn die Ende ist noch nicht.
And then he says in Matthew 24 verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows.
Verse 7 und 8.
So therefore in Luke 21, these verses that we just read, verse 6 to 9, where do we place them?
Also Lukas 21, diese Verse, die wir eben gelesen haben, die Verse 6 bis 9, wo markieren wir sie? Also 6 bis 9 in Matthew.
No, Luke 21.
21.
Yes, right, it's the first
Signs.
signs, the first shaking, right? It's nation against nation, and the end is not yet, right?
Also es ist Nation gegen Nation, aber das Ende ist noch nicht.
Everybody sees this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
Daniel, you also? You also? Okay. Okay, so it's just a parallel to this first portion. Okay, so
Im Vergleich zu der ersten Teil.
and then let's go back to Luke 21.
Also zurück zu Lukas 21.
So in verse 9 he speaks about this first part of the shaking,
So in Vers 9 spricht er über diese erste Teil der Sichtung,
which would be the First World War.
was das erste Weltkrieg wäre.
And then in verse 10 he says,
Vers 10 sagt er,
then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall be there from heaven. So about what is he speaking now?
so über was spricht er jetzt?
Shaking of the heavens.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's now the second shaking, right?
Also spricht über das zweite Sichtung,
Because
die
this is
Erschütterung der Himmel und Erde.
just the earth.
Das hier ist nur die Erschütterung der Erde.
That's the heaven plus the earth, right?
Hier auf der anderen Seite ist die Erschütterung des Himmels und der Erde.
So he's now speaking about the Second World War.
So hier spricht er über den Zweiten Weltkrieg.
So, and then it says in verse 12,
Vers 12.
but before all these, before what?
Aber noch vor all dieses, also vor was?
Yeah, before the Second World War, right?
Also noch bevor der Zweiten Weltkrieg, also der Erschütterung der Himmel und Erde.
Okay. They shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. So, where are you delivered up?
So, wo wirst du ausgeliefert?
Before this Second World War,
Am
right?
Mitternachruf ja, aber vor der Zweiten Weltkrieg, also vor
So-
dieser zweiten Erschütterung.
But it's after the First World War.
Aber nach der Ersten Weltkrieg.
So it's between the First World War and before the Second World War.
Also zwischen der Ersten Weltkrieg, aber noch bevor der Zweite.
And what is between the First World War but before the Second World War?
Was ist zwischen der Ersten Weltkrieg, aber noch vor der Zweite?
Yes, a little time of peace. Okay.
Kleine Zeit des Friedens.
So here you're delivered up.
Hier wirst du ausgeliefert.
It's a little bit.
In this case, it would be the 6th to the 9th hour, right?
Yes.
In diesem Fall wird es der 6. bis zur 9. Stunde sein.
What would be the 6th and 9th hour?
Delivery up.
I mean, you mean this one, or you mean just the old?
This one that you're talking, yes.
This is
Da
experience.
oben.
Yes.
And then the harvest basically takes place, which is the shape of the heavens.
Und dann findet der Ernte statt, was der Erschütterung der Himmel und Erde ist.
You mean because Christ comes
No,
here?
no, it can't be. That means you're making a little time of peace, the midnight cry to the 9th hour.
I mean, this,
no,
where it
no.
says the,
Down here, Führer. Like, come down here. Right? Because, that, no, not down. There, just right there above Wrath, 9th hour.
Yes.
So that has to parallel that above.
it's the 6th hour. No, this is the 6th hour.
No.
Oh, no, I get it, yes, the 9th hour.
So, first for the virgins, then for the lost sheep, has to parallel that above. What do you have above? What do you have at the top? 4 and 6.
Yeah. No, but if you go with this one, right, the shaking of the heavens and the earth, this
No, you're
marks
not-
the end of the world,
you're
right?
not getting what I'm saying. Go with the patterns, right?
I
So
agree.
what's at the ninth hour? The shaking of the heavens and the earth. It's just repeating.
Yes.
Right? So come to the midnight cry. What do you have?
But this ninth hour, this is not the midnight cry. right?
It's a parallel to it. It's a
You can just.
It's a repeating pattern.
Okay, maybe it will become more clear when we go on. Alright, so, but so far everybody can follow it, right? So you're delivered up in this little time of peace, right?
Kann jeder so weit folgen. Du wirst ausgeliefert in diese kleine, während diese kleine Zeit des Friedens.
Okay, so let's go now to Matthew 24.
So, lasst uns jetzt zu Matthäus 24 gehen.
We want to look at this time of Cestius once more.
Wir wollen diese Zeit von Cestius ein weiteres Mal anschauen.
Matthew 24, and let's read verse 15 to 22.
Also Matthäus 24 und die Verse 15 bis 22.
Okay, let's read verse 15 and 16 first.
Zuerst Verse 15 und 16.
And I think then it's your turn.
15 to 22.
No, just read 15 and 16.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand, and let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Okay, so who comes at the Sunday law?
So, wer kommt am Sonntagsgesetz?
Cestius, right?
Cestius, richtig?
According to these verses.
Gemäß diese Verse.
It's the sign you must see,
Das ist der Zeichen, die erkannt werden müssen.
because the abomination of desolation is what?
Denn der Groll der Verwüstung ist was?
Yes, the combination of church and state, right?
Also die Verbindung zwischen Staat und Kirche.
Papacy begins to rule.
Und der Papst fängt an zu herrschen.
Okay, and what must you do according to verse 16?
Und gemäß Vers 16, was musst du tun?
You must flee, right?
Also, du musst fliehen.
But what does Cestius do?
Aber was tut Cestius?
He surrounds Jerusalem, right?
Umkreist Jerusalem.
So can you flee already in this time?
Also kannst du in dieser Zeit fliehen?
No, he must first flee himself, right? That you also can flee from the city.
Cestius muss selber fliehen, sodass du von der Stadt entkommen kannst.
Okay, so let's read now verse 21 and 22.
So jetzt Verse 21 und 22.
And Sister Sandra, you want to read this, please?
For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
Alright, so what does it say?
Was sagt es?
When the papacy begins to rule, what time starts?
Wenn der Papst fängt an zu herrschen, welche Zeit beginnt?
Great Tribulation,
Die große Drangsal.
which is this 1260,
Das ist
right?
diese gesamte hier, ist diese 1260.
But this 1260 shall be cut short.
Aber diese
Right?
1260 wird verkürzt werden.
By how many years?
Wie viele Jahre?
25 years.
25 Jahre.
So it's this 25 years that it gets cut short here.
Das ist diese 25 Jahre, die hier verkürzt werden.
Okay, so and let's now look at the story of Cestius. Okay,
Dann lasst uns jetzt die Geschichte von Cestius anschauen.
and basically we'll see later that Cestius flees away right here at the midnight cry.
Wir werden sehen, dass Cestius hier am Mitternachtsruf flieht weg.
Okay, so let's read this from GC 25.4.
Das ist von Große Kampf 25.4.
Sorry.
When the idolaters' standards of the Romans should be set up in the holy ground, which extended some furlongs outside the city walls, then the followers of Christ were to find safety in flight. When the warning sign should be seen, those who would escape must make no delay. Throughout the land of Judah as well as in Jerusalem itself, the signal of the flight would be immediately obeyed.
Okay, so when you see the opportunity to fly, what must you do?
Also wenn du Gelegenheit siehst zu fliehen, was musst du tun?
Yeah, don't hesitate, you must immediately obey. Right?
Also sofort darauf eingehen, du musst sofort gehorchen.
Okay, so flee immediately. Okay. Okay, continue please.
Sofort fliehen.
He who changed to be upon the housetop must not go down into his house, even to save his most valued treasures. Those who were working on the fields or vineyards must not take time to return for the outer garment laid aside while they should be toiling in the heat of the day. They must not hesitate a moment lest they be involved in the general destruction.
Okay, so if you hesitate, what will happen to you?
Also wenn du verzögerst, was wird mit dir geschehen?
Yeah, you will be destroyed, right?
Also zerstört.
The general destruction was the destruction of Jerusalem, right?
Diese allgemeine Zerstörung, die hier erwähnt wird, war die Zerstörung Jerusalems,
Which is the 7 last plagues.
was die 7 letzten Plagen waren.
Okay. So basically the next quote, right, tells that the Romans withdrew under Cestius, right?
Also der nächste Zitat sagt uns, dass die Römer unter Cestius haben sich zurückgezogen.
And let's read here in the middle the boldface where it says upon the retreat of Cestius.
Genau inmitten des der Absatz, diese kleine fettgedruckten auf dem Rückzug von Cestius.
Upon the retreat of Cestius, the Jews sallying from Jerusalem pursued his retiring army, and while both forces were thus fully engaged, the Christians had an opportunity to leave the city.
Okay, stop here. So, what did the Jews do when the Romans retreated?
Was haben die Juden getan, als die Römer sich zurückgezogen haben?
Pursued.
Yes, they went after the Romans, right?
Sie sind hinterhergegangen.
And I forgot to put this part of the quote in it. It says they smote them and they almost totally annihilated them. Okay.
Ich habe vergessen, dieses Teil des Zitates dazu zu fügen. Also die haben sie erschlagen, also sie haben sie fast ausgelöscht.
Okay, so what would this mean in our time when they would go after the Romans?
Was würde das denn heißen in unserer Zeit, wenn sie den Römern nachgehen?
Behind the classrooms.
Yes, public evangelism, okay.
Also öffentliche Evangelisation.
So when Cestius flees, right, then they would go after and go into these cities, okay?
Also wenn Cestius fließt, sie werden hinterhergehen, in diesen Städten ziehen.
But when they do this work, and these Jews, were they righteous or wicked?
Und wenn sie dieses Werk tun, also diese Juden, waren sie gerecht oder boshaft?
Wicked, right?
Boshaft.
So therefore when the wicked go into the cities, what must you do at the same time?
Also wenn die Böse in den Städten hineingehen, was musst du zur selben Zeit tun?
Yes, you must flee from Jerusalem, right?
Also du musst von Jerusalem fliehen.
And it says here in the last sentence,
In den letzten Satz sagt
it
es,
says, without delay they fled to a place of safety, the city of Pella and the land of Perea beyond Jordan. So it says again, you must immediately obey, right?
es sagt ein weiteres Mal, ohne zu verzögern musst du gehorchen.
So
Also the Passover were fleeing. So it as the quote says, the Jews gathered together the Passover, right? And that gave the Christian free opportunity to leave the city without any.
Yeah, it was the Feast of Tabernacles on the Cestus, right? On the Titus was Passover.
Yeah, but Titus is when they had to flee. But
Yes. No, Cestus.
Cestus had where it, yes, and it was Passover.
Tabernacles. It was Cestus.
Tabernacles.
Cestus also in the quote.
Yeah.
Still.
Passover when Titus comes.
Okay.
It says here in the second to last sentence of the quote here, it
Also
says,
der zweitletzte Satz.
at the time of the siege, the Jews were assembled at Jerusalem to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, and thus the Christians throughout the land were able to make their escape unmolested. Without delay, they fled to a place of safety, the city of Pella, in the land of Perea beyond Jordan. Okay, so why did they have to leave immediately?
Warum mussten sie sofort den Stadt verlassen?
Who was to come?
Wer würde noch kommen?
Titus. Okay.
Titus würde noch kommen.
So Titus would come back.
Titus würde dann zurückkommen.
Okay. And then there was no more escaping. Okay.
Dann gab es keine Gelegenheit mehr zu entkommen.
So here you must flee immediately, and also Cestius flees. Okay.
Also du musst sofort fliehen, aber Cestius, der flieht auch.
So and where do you flee to?
Und wo musst du hinziehen?
Yes, to Christ, to the refuge city.
Zu
Right?
dieser Zufluchtsstadt, zu Christus.
So to refuge city.
Also zu den Zufluchtsstadt.
So therefore there's this change, right, between Cestius and Titus.
Also es gibt diese Wechsel zwischen Cestius und Titus.
And here's also this change between the First World War and the Second World War.
Und auch diese Wechsel zwischen der Erste und der Zweite Weltkrieg.
Between the shaking of the earth and the shaking of the heavens and the earth.
Also zwischen der Erschütterung der Erde und der Erschütterung der Himmel und
The
Erde.
fact that she's saying there's no time to lose means it's a very short space.
Yes.
Also der Tatsache, dass sie sagt, es gibt keine Zeit zu verlieren, deutet darauf hin, dass es eine sehr kurze Zeitspanne ist.
Because in between these two phases is what?
Denn zwischen diese zwei Phasen ist was?
The big time of peace, right?
Also der große Zeit des Friedens, oder?
Little time of
Der
peace.
kleine Zeit des Friedens.
So in this small time between these two phases here, you have a short window of peace.
Also in diese zwei Zeiten, diese kleine Zeit zwischen diese zwei Zeiten gibt es eine kleine Fenster des Friedens.
And in this little time of peace, you must flee immediately to this refuge city.
Während dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens, wir müssen sofort zu dieser Zufluchtsstadt fliehen.
And if you don't flee immediately, this little time will be over and Titus is there.
Und wenn du das nicht tust, dann wird diese kleine Zeit vorübergehen und Titus wird kommen.
And when Titus is there, there's no getting out any longer.
Und wenn Titus da ist, ist kein mehr Entkommen möglich.
Okay, in the quote that you've put there from Great Conference 25, which is above the quote you've just...
Also im großen Kampf 25, was über der Zitat ist, die wir gerade gelesen haben,
The last sentence,
der letzte Satz
in the highlighted bit,
in der fettgedruckten Teil,
it says, the end of the second to last sentence, it says, in the heat of the day.
der zuletzt, also im Hitze des Tages.
We know from the Bible the heat of the day is midday, which is marking midnight, right?
Yes.
Von der Bibel, der Hitze des Tages ist Mittag, was auch gleich Mitternacht ist.
Okay, but I also want to point out that the number 21 is marking this little time of peace. Right?
Aber ich möchte auch zeigen, der 21, der hier diese kleine Zeit des Friedens markiert,
That's the French Revolution,
markiert auch der französische Revolution,
okay, which is where the two witnesses get delivered up to death.
wo die zwei Zeugen zum Tode ausgeliefert werden.
And it's also marking the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, which was at midnight.
Und es markiert auch der St. Bartholomäus Schlacht, was am Mitternacht
You
stattfindet.
say this because they were all on the 21st, right?
Yeah, the 21st, but there's a little time.
Die waren alle da am 21. Aber es gab eine kleine Zeit des Friedens.
Sorry?
I think not St. Bartholomew, the other one.
No, St. Bartholomew's Day massacre.
The placards affair, I think, was 21.
St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. It was a little time of peace. They're all called, all the Protestants come into the cities, And they feel all secure, and then at midnight, boom, they come and put them
Es
together.
gab eine kleine Zeit des Friedens. Alle Protestanten sind in die Städte eingezogen und sie fühlten sich sicher.
1535.
Und am Mitternacht sind die Glocken geläutet und die wurden geschlachtet.
This is why it has this quote where she says exactly 258 years
Previous.
there was this other massacre.
Also
So did he have the quote which says that?
258 Jahre
This is typed
zuvor
in 258 years.
gab es diese andere
No,
Massaker.
I just,
Great
I
contrast.
just,
21st of January 1535.
I just
21. Januar
asking,
1535.
where I can get the information, that's all.
In the Great Controversy.
It's 200, but the history says 24th of August, 1572.
No, 21st of January 1535, exactly to the day. It's in the Great Controversy.
We'll just put it up. Yeah, it says on the, it's in GC 200, I just posted,
Also ich werde das Zitat posten.
GC, what's the?
230.2.
Große Kampf 230.2.
Then can you maybe translate this, please? It's in the second sentence.
Also in den zweiten Satz.
It says, we'll start from the beginning. The gospel of peace, which France had rejected, was to be only too surely rooted out, and terrible would be the results. On the 21st of January 1793, 258 years from the very day that fully committed France to the persecution of the reformers, another procession with a far different purpose passed through the streets of Paris. 258 years to the day, she says.
So this is the placards affair.
It's the what?
It's not the, when they start to put placards on the against
Posters.
papacy, and one of them was on the door of the king, and the king was wrath, and he killed some Protestants
Oh, those printed.
before
I
Notre
mean,
Dame.
if you type it in Google, on the 21st of January 1793, it says the execution of Louis XVI.
Yeah,
If you type in St.
St. Bartholomew.
Day's massacre, it says dates August 24th, 1572, 5th of October
Okay, I
1572.
stand corrected.
The other one is 1535.
1793
You
or
have the
something.
number.
Yeah. The French king was basically executed.
Okay, maybe I've got them mixed up. On the
I mean,
the thing is-
she speaks, 2 paragraphs later, she speaks about these placards.
yeah.
They,
But St. Bartholomew's Day Mass at midnight. That's
Yes, I know. On the bells were tolled.
Aber
It's 1535, and you have the
I mean,
difference.
Yeah, I mean, she even says it in the quote that Louis was executed at death. That's it.
so, alright, it doesn't matter because the story still fits, right?
Yeah.
The Saint,
Also
that
nichtsdestotrotz, die Geschichte passt dennoch mit den St. Bartholomäus Massaker.
because it was at midnight when they were slain, and shortly before they had this pledge by the king that he would not touch them.
Okay,
Es war um Mitternacht, wo sie geschlachtet worden sind, und sie hatten auch diese Eid vom König erhalten, dass sie nicht angetastet
So they
wurden.
had like a little time of peace, and it was suddenly and unexpectedly.
Yes.
Okay, so sorry, this where I've got it from. GC 273.1. This is where I've got this thing is, and it tells you that it's paralleling it with
273.
the French Revolution. Yeah, 273.1.
And this.
Yeah, 273.1.
Okay, I'll post it. Then you can translate it, please.
The one that you're talking about now is the banned publishing. The banned publishing. You weren't allowed to publish anything. 1535. You go back and read it, it's earlier on in Great Controversy. It says that with the placards, they
Yeah,
want
they
to
put
stop,
all over the place.
they want to stop ban from publishing. But right here, it says, the same master spirit that urged on the St. Bartholomew massacre led also to the scenes of the revolution.
Mhm.
So what she does, she just ties the two of them together. I knew there were tactics, I just put these. So, and it's at midnight, so that's why I put those two things.
But it was a different day, right?
That's also-
Yeah, so it was a stand trade.
I have a question. This little time of peace,
Also Frage, diese kleine Zeit des Friedens,
is it part of the midnight cry?
ist es ein Teil der Mitternachtsruf?
It's what we're trying to figure out. But it's a short period, it's marking midnight.
Also
Because-
das versuchen wir herauszufinden, aber es ist eine kleine Periode der Mitternacht markiert.
Because what I'm asking is that
It's not
midnight, the midnight cry is the crisis, right? According to Christ's object
Well,
lessons.
you
Der
call
called.
it-
Mitternachtsruf ist der Krise,
Right.
gemäß Christi Gleichnisse 4 bis
So this has to be like time-wise a short, right before it, right?
Das muss denn
It's
ein
like
zeitweise eine
Three
kleine Zeit
friends and
davor sein.
Elihu. It goes from one verse to the other, right?
So, drei Freunde und dann Elihu, es geht von einem Vers zum nächsten.
In chapter 31 it says that they ceased and then Elihu was wrapped. It's that quick.
31, es sagt, dass sie hier, die hören auf hier und Elihu fängt hier an. Es ist so schnell.
we understand, right, that at one waymark there can be some things happen that are not all on the same day.
Also wir verstehen prophetisch, dass auf einem bestimmten Wegmarke es mag vielleicht verschiedene Dinge geben, die alle auf dieser Wegmarke markiert sind, aber die nicht unbedingt auf denselben Tag geschehen.
In Christ line, the cross, right? You have the cross and you have the second temple cleansing.
Also auf Christi Linie hat man den Kreuz markiert, aber auch der zweite Tempelreinigung.
And both were not at the very same day.
Beide waren noch nicht mal an demselben Tag.
But the symbols join these two events together.
Aber die Symbolik verbindet diese zwei Ereignisse zusammen.
For instance, at 9/11, right?
Zum Beispiel am 11. September,
The attack of 9/11 and spiritual formation and Bush going before the United Nations and the Congress was not all on the same day.
Angriff auf den Türmen und auch die geistliche Formation in der 7-Tages-Adventist Gemeinde und Präsident Bush, der vor den UN gegangen ist, um die Welt zu vereinigen gegen den Terrorismus, die sind alle auf 11. September markiert, aber alle nicht auf denselben Tag.
And the point is that a little time of peace is an event. And
So die kleine Zeit des Friedens ist ein Ereignis.
when it comes, as soon as it happens, you've got to flee because the next thing is going to happen is the investigative judgment of the living.
Sobald das kommt, wir müssen fliehen, denn genau das nächste Ereignis daraufhin ist der Untersuchungsgericht an der Lebendigen.
So it's something like when you, because we are always spatially challenged. Okay?
Wir sind immer räumlich überfordert manchmal.
Because we just draw like a waymark like this, right?
Wenn wir eine Wegmarkierung wie diese hier vergleichen.
If we would draw and make the waymark a little bit bigger,
Aber wenn wir diese Wegmarke so ein bisschen breiter machen würden, so wie das hier,
so this is one waymark, okay?
das ist eine Wegmarkierung.
Then you could say something happens at the beginning of this waymark,
Du kannst sagen, dass irgendetwas am Anfang von diesen Wegmarkierungen findet statt
and something happens at the end.
und irgendetwas am Ende dieser Wegmarke stattfindet.
So that's at least the best logic we can apply at the moment. Okay?
Das ist das beste Logik, die wir momentan dazu anwenden.
So the little time of peace begins here,
Also der kleine Zeit des Friedens fängt hier gerade an
and this is when it ends, and you face death.
und gerade hier hört es auf und wir den Tod ans Angesicht
I think
treten.
Because it's all the
It's a
midnight
pause.
cry waymark.
Yeah, it's like a pause. You recognize a pause, so as soon as you recognize the pause, you have to react to it because immediately something's coming.
Es ist eine Pause und wie eine Pause und sobald dass du diese Pause anerkennst, du musst darauf eingehen, weil du weißt, sobald das wieder Play gedrückt wird, weißt du, es geht weiter.
Because, for instance, when the Lord sends us the exceeding bright light,
Denn wenn der Herr dieses äußerst helles Licht sendet,
it will also take some time to all understand it, right? And really
Es wird auch eine gewisse Zeit nehmen, dass wir das einnehmen und verstehen und verarbeiten.
so these things, they're always connected with somewhat of time, right?
Diese Dinge, sie sind immer in gewissem Maßen mit einem Zeitrahmen verbunden
And with the order of things.
und einer Ordnung der Sachen, also eine Reihenfolge.
But then the Bible dictates when you come to the next waymark or when this other phase begins in all these things.
Aber der Bibel ist es, was bestimmt, wann wir an eine Wegmarke angekommen sind und wann wir in der nächste Phase hinübergegangen sind.
Okay, so let's go back to the notes.
So, lasst uns zurück zu unseren Notizen kommen.
So we saw that we need to immediately flee, right?
Also wir haben gesehen, dass wir sofort fliehen zu der Zufluchtsstadt, was
So-
Christus ist.
And if we take this illustration here, then it would be right here at the beginning of the little time of peace.
Und wenn wir diese Darstellung, eine Wegmarke benutzen, dann dieses Fliehen wäre genau hier am Anfang, wenn diese kleine Zeit des Friedens
And you
aufkommt.
flee to the refuge city, right?
Und du fliehst zu dieser Zufluchtsstadt.
Okay, so then the point where they deliver you up would be then this cycle.
Also der Zeit, wo sie dich ausliefern, wäre denn hier an der Wegmarke. Mitternacht.
Okay, so and when you flee to the refuge city,
Und wenn du zu dieser Zufluchtsstadt fließt,
this is obviously line upon line with the refuge cities that were put in place in Israel, right?
das ist natürlich Linie auf Linie mit den Zufluchtsstädten, die in Israel aufgerichtet worden
So
sind.
let's remind ourselves. Let's go to the next quote.
Also lasst uns unsere Gedanken darüber erfrischen. Diese nächste Zitat in den Notizen.
That's from PP 515.3.
Patriarchen und Propheten 515.3.
Okay, I don't know what's turning. It's Sister Margaret, right?
The cities of refuge were so distributed as to be within the half day's journey of every part of the land. The roads leading to them were always to be kept in good repair. All along the way, signposts were to be erected bearing the word refuge in plain, bold characters, that the fleeing one might not be delayed for a moment.
Okay, stop here. So, these refuge cities, what does it say? They were easily accessible, right?
Also was sagt es hier? Diese Zufluchtsstätten, die waren leicht zugänglich.
Why?
Warum wohl?
According to what she says.
Gemäß was hier geschrieben ist.
Signposts.
There were signposts, okay?
Also, der gab Wegweisungen.
So what would be the signposts?
Was wäre diese Wegweisung sein?
Yes, the waymarks, okay?
Diese Wegmarkierungen auf der Linie.
And what about the roads?
Und was mit der Straße?
They were always in good repair, right?
Also diese Straßen waren immer in gutem Zustand.
I did a presentation where I showed that these lines are the paths.
Ich habe einen Vortrag gehalten, wo ich gezeigt habe, dass diese Linien die Pfaden sind, also die Straßen.
Okay, so therefore the Lord gives us clear direction through these lines where the refuge city is to be found.
Der Herr gibt uns klare Anweisungen durch die Linien, wo diese Zufluchtsstätten zu finden sind.
And what must you not do
Und was musst du
when you flee?
nicht tun, wenn du fliehst?
She said here. Not delay for a moment, right?
Also für keinen Moment verzögern.
Like when you flee from Cestius. Right?
So wie wenn du hier von Cestius fliehst.
So it's always the same emphasis. You must not hesitate for a moment.
Also immer dasselbe Nachdruck. Du darfst nicht für einen Moment verzögern.
What happened with Lot and his wife when they were led out of Sodom?
Was geschah mit Lot und seiner Frau, als sie aus Sodom herausgeführt worden sind?
Yeah, they should also not delay.
Sie
Right?
sollten nicht
I
verzögern.
mean, they represent a different class, but the same principle.
Also die
Okay.
stellen eine andere Klasse dar, aber dasselbe Prinzip.
And what happened to Lot's wife?
Was geschah mit Lots Frau?
She hesitated and she turned back, and then she was sealed in her doom.
Sie verzögerte und drehte sich um und wurde verziegelt in ihrem verlorenen Schicksal.
Okay, therefore it's very serious. And if we are in this little time of peace at the moment, then this must be our work to do
Es
now.
ist sehr ernst und wenn wir uns gerade jetzt in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens befinden, dann gibt es dementsprechend ein Werk zu tun.
And I don't know if Brother Mark will touch on this tomorrow, so I don't want to take his icing of the cake.
Ich weiß nicht, ob Bruder Mark erst morgen früh drüber gehen wird, also ich möchte nicht sein Donner stehlen.
Why it might be that we're in this little time of peace.
Okay, yeah.
Warum es sein konnte, dass wir uns in dieser kleinen Friedenszeit
I
befinden.
mean, we're not totally sure yet, okay, but that might be the case. Okay.
Also wir sind nicht ganz sicher, aber vielleicht ist das der Fall.
And if this is the case, obviously, then these things apply to us right now. Okay.
Und wenn das eben der Fall ist, dann das, was wir hier lesen, die sind für uns gerade jetzt anzuwenden.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, but the point is that even if we're not, it's right on top of us.
Also ich bin nicht so ganz sicher, aber selbst wenn es nicht so wäre, es steht unmittelbar bevor.
Okay. So let's continue.
Also lasst uns weiterlesen.
You want to continue, Sister Mars?
Any person, Hebrew, stranger, or sojourner might avail himself of this provision. But while the guiltless were not to be rashly slain, neither were the guilty to escape punishment, the case of the
Fugitive.
fugitive was to be fairly tried by the proper authorities, and only when found innocent of intentional murder was he to be protected in the city of refuge. The guilty were given up to the avenger, and those who were entitled to protection could receive it only on condition of remaining within the appointed refuge.
Okay, thank you for now. So when you came to the gate of the city, right?
Also wenn du zum Tor vom Staat angekommen
You
bist,
know, the gate is also marked here at the midnight cry.
und wir
Right?
wissen, dass der Tor auch hier im Mitternachtsruf markiert
So
ist.
what happened then with you?
Was geschah dort?
You're investigated.
Yes, you investigated, right?
Wird untersucht, also dein Fall wird untersucht.
It's the investigative judgment of the living.
Das ist der
Okay.
Untersuchungsgericht des Lebendigen.
So therefore, when you flee in this little time of peace,
So, denn wenn du in diese kleine Zeit des Friedens fliehst
and you come to the gate,
und du kommst zum Tor an,
then the investigative judgment of the living begins.
da fängt der Untersuchungsgericht an den Lebendigen.
And this would be then this three-step process here.
Das
Okay.
wäre dann dieser dreistufige Prozess hier.
Okay. So, and who was to flee to this city?
Und wer sollte zu diesen Stadt fliehen?
Christian.
Yes.
Those who have accidentally committed murder.
Yes. Okay.
Also diejenigen, die
So,
unabsichtlich getötet haben.
so what does it tell us when we are the ones who are to flee to this refuge city?
Was
What
sagt
are
das
we?
uns? Wenn wir zu dieser Zufluchtsort fliehen sollen, was sind wir?
We've just found out that we've murdered Christ.
Amen.
Wir haben
Okay.
gerade herausgefunden, dass wir Christi getötet haben.
And so we are all guilty of slaying Christ. Okay.
Wir sind alle schuldig, dass wir Christus gekreuzigt haben.
So, but there are some that doesn't do it unknowingly,
Aber es gibt einige, die es unabsichtlich getan haben
and some
oder
that
unwissentlich.
do it that did it purposely.
Aber es gibt anderen, die es wohl bemerkt, wohl bekannt, also mit Absicht gemacht haben.
It's,
So-
it's on the Day of Atonement, the sacrifice that was made was only for ignorant sins.
Also am Versöhnungstag, der Opfer, der gebracht worden ist, war nur für Sünden, die in Ignoranz begangen worden sind.
So there's something about this ignorance and in what you do willfully, right? That obviously has a great part to play in this, right?
Also hier in diese Sache, der Unterschied zwischen ignorante Sünden und absichtliche Sünden spielt offensichtlich eine Rolle. What did you say?
Hebrews 10.
Yes, we can go to-
Hebräer 10, 26. Also wir können da hingehen. Hebräer 10, 26.
Let's read verse 26 and 27.
Die Verse 26 und 27.
Hebrews 10, verse 26 and 27.
Hebräer 10, Verse 26 und 27.
And we can actually start in verse 23.
Und wir fangen an zu lesen in Vers 23,
Context.
um Kontext zu verschaffen.
Brahma?
Yes. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised.
Okay, so where are we on our line?
Also wo sind, Vers 23 haben wir angefangen, wo sind wir auf unserer Linie?
Just about to be tested on the promises.
Yes.
Also du hast gerade, stehst kurz bevor, geprüft zu sein, ob wir glauben an den
So we
Verheißungen.
must hold fast to the profession of our faith, which is this final test, right?
Also wir müssen festhalten der Bekenntnis unseres Glaubens, was diese finale Test hier ist.
Because Satan wants to bring you back to Egypt,
Ja,
right?
Satan möchte uns zurück zu Ägypten
And
führen.
wants to make you deny your past experience.
Und Satan möchte uns dazu bringen, dass wir unsere vergangene Erfahrung verleugnen.
Okay, continue.
Weiter.
And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exalting one another, and so much more as ye see the day approaching.
So in verse 25, what are we not to do?
So Vers 25, was sollen wir nicht tun?
Forsake the gathering of yourselves.
Yes, because
Wir sollen nicht vernachlässigen der Versammlungen miteinander.
keep your finger here. Let's go to 1 John chapter 2.
Haltet den Platz hier und geht zum 1. Johannes 2.
Because who is forsaking these gatherings?
1. Johannes 2. Wer vernachlässigt diese Versammlungen?
Let's read verse 18 to 19.
Verse 18 und 19.
It says, little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now there are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest that they were not all of us. So what do these people do here?
So was tun diese Menschen hier?
It's like they leave. It's like the Christ at Galilee. They all walk away from.
Yes, they forsake the gatherings, right?
Also die vernachlässigen der Versammlung.
That's what we read here in Hebrews 10.
Das ist das, was wir in Hebräer 10 gelesen
They
haben.
went out from us because they were not of us.
Sie sind von uns ausgegangen, denn sie waren nicht von uns.
Which is Judas here, the falling away.
Was Judas hier ist, das Wegfallen.
Okay, so let's go back to Hebrews 10 and
Also Hebräer 10 zurück,
verse 26 and 27.
Vers 26, 27.
For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for all judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries.
Yes. Okay, so this speaks about willful sin, right?
Also das spricht über willentlich sündigen.
And it's after you receive the knowledge of the truth.
Es ist nachdem, dass du der Erkenntnis der Wahrheit erhalten hast.
So, what does Sister White say? Who needs to hear the last warning message?
Also was sagt Ellen White? Wer muss diese letzte Warnungsbotschaft hören? those that have not had a knowledge of the truth.
She says all,
I say everybody.
yes, all will hear the last message of mercy.
Also alle mussten diese letzte Botschaft der Gnade hören.
So the midnight cry will be the last message of mercy to everybody in this movement.
Also der Mitternachtsruf werde der letzte Botschaft der Gnade zu jeder innerhalb dieser Bewegung
So
sein.
and whoever rejects this light, there's no more sacrifice for sin. That's it.
Wer auch immer dieses Licht verwirft, es gibt kein Opfergabe mehr für Sünden. Das war's.
And so therefore we are shortly before this time, okay,
Deswegen sind wir kurz vor dieser Zeit.
and that's why we must really make sure that we don't reject this light,
Deswegen mussten wir sicherstellen, dass wir dieses Licht nicht verwerfen.
because if we reject it, these verses will apply to us.
Denn wenn wir es verwerfen, diesen Vers sind für uns selbst anzuwenden.
Because then we would willfully crucify Christ.
Denn würden wir willentlich Christus kreuzigen.
Says it in verse 28
Yes.
and 29.
This is in verse 28 and 29. We can read
Das sagt es in Versen 28 und 29.
this.
He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much sorer punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who hath trodden under foot the Son of God, and hath counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and hath done despite unto the Spirit of grace. Despite unto the Spirit of grace.
Okay, so you count the blood of the covenant. An unholy thing. Okay.
Also du betrachtest der Blut des Bundes eine Sache eine unheilige Sache.
And you tread under feet the Son of God.
Und du trittst unter Fuß des Menschensohns.
You know,
Son of God. Sohn Gottes.
Der Sohn Gottes. Ist das der Vers?
uses the words trod down underfoot, right?
Also sie
It's
machen
the
Gebrauch von
fourth piece
diesen
which treads
Verben
down underfoot.
unter Fuß treten.
Fourth pieces which unite the church and state.
Das ist der 4. Tier, der unter Fuß tritt. Und das ist der Tier, der Staatsmacht und Kirchenmacht zusammenbringt.
You set up the image of the beast, the golden calf, then you crucify.
Also wenn du diese Bild des Tieres hier aufrichtest, also diese goldene Kalb, dann kreuzigst du Christus.
It's also the
Knowingly.
Willentlich.
Yes, no.
the blood of the covenant there is the message that comes. You immediately reject it. That's the
Und der
blood. that's
Blut
when it
der
comes.
Bundnis, der da kommt, ist der Botschaft, also der Botschaft, der du sofort widerstehst.
Okay, so let's close for this evening with these last paragraphs, and then we'll make a short summary, and then
Also wir werden heute Abend nur diese letzten Sätze lesen, Absätze hier lesen, eine kurze Zusammenfassung und dann schließen.
okay, let's read the next paragraphs. It says
Also in den Notizen zurück,
on page 2.
Seite 2.
It says the cities of refuge appointed for God's ancient people were a symbol of the refuge provided in Christ. So when you flee to these cities, you flee to Christ.
Also wenn du zu diesen Städten fliehst, du fliehst zu Christus hin.
The same merciful Savior who appointed those temporal cities of refuge has by the shedding of his own blood provided for the transgressors of God's law a sure retreat, into which they may flee for safety from the second death. He who fled to the city of refuge could make no delay. So again, always this point is stressed, right? Immediately, don't delay, don't hesitate.
Also wieder dieser Nachdruck gemacht, verzögert nichts, also sofort musst du verlassen, nicht nach irgendetwas zurückgehen, also immer wieder dieser Nachdruck, keine Zeit zu
And
verlieren.
Sister White says, God doesn't repeat things if they are of small consequence. Small.
Und Ellen White sagt, dass der Herr wiederholt Sachen nicht, die von geringerem Ausmaß sind.
So when he repeats these things, he really wants to impress us that this is really important.
Also wenn der Herr was wiederholt, er möchte nachdrücken, dass das wirklich wichtig ist.
Because it says, it goes on here,
Es sagt weiter,
family and employment were left behind. There was no time to say farewell to loved ones. His life was at stake, and every other interest must be sacrificed to the one purpose, to reach the place of safety. Okay, everything becomes secondary.
Also alles wird zweitrangig.
If you really love Christ, you will sacrifice everything just to get to this city.
Also wenn du Christus wirklich liebst, du wirst alles vernachlässigen, nur um zu dieser Stadt anzukommen.
Weariness was forgotten, difficulties were unheeded. The fugitive dared not for one moment slacken his pace until he was within the wall of the city. Okay, so again, not one moment to lose.
Ein weiteres Mal, keinen einzigen Moment zu verlieren.
The sinner is exposed to eternal death until he finds a hiding place in Christ. And as loitering and carelessness might rob the fugitive of his only chance for life, so here you have the careless and uninterested.
Also hier markiert es diese sorglos und Uninteressierte.
So delays and indifference may prove the ruin of the soul. Satan, the great adversary, is on the track of every transgressor of God's holy law. And he who is not sensible of his danger and does not earnestly seek shelter in the eternal refuge will fall a prey to the destroyer. Okay? So, therefore, if you don't sense your own danger, then it's time to wake up and to really plead with the Lord that He makes you realize that your eternal destiny is at stake here.
Also wenn du deine eigenen Gefahr hier nicht erkennst, dann ist es Zeit aufzuwachen und mit den Herrn zu flehen, denn deinem ewigen Schicksal steht auf dem Spieltisch.
So these things that we study, they are truly life and death.
Also diese Sachen, die wir studieren, die sind wahrlich auf Leben und Tod.
And we saw that you have these two shakings.
Wir haben gesehen, dass du diese zwei Erschütterungen hast.
The earth and the heavens and the earth.
Also der Erde und das Himmel und der Erde.
Or the First World War and the Second World War.
Oder das Erste Weltkrieg und das Zweite Weltkrieg.
And in between you have this little time of peace.
Und in der Mitte hast du diese kleine Zeit des Friedens.
When Cestius flees.
Wenn Cestius von Jerusalem flieht.
And you must recognize this.
Und du musst das erkennen.
And then you must understand this is now my opportunity to flee to this refuge city.
Du musst erkennen, dass das jetzt ist meine Gelegenheit, zu dieser Zufluchtsstadt anzukommen.
And I have this little time of peace given.
Ich habe nur diese ganz kleine Fenster des Friedens, der mir gegeben
And
ist.
if I hesitate one moment, it's all in vain.
Und wenn ich verzögere nur einen Moment, ist es alles für nichts.
If I look back like Lot's wife,
Und wenn ich zurückschaue, wie die Frau von Lot,
because I have something that I value higher than Christ in my life,
denn es gibt irgendetwas, was ich höher als Christus in meinem Leben schätze,
then I will share her fate.
dann werde ich das Schicksal von der Frau von Lot teilen.
So therefore we must make sure that our hearts are right now.
Deswegen müssen wir sicherstellen, dass unsere Herzen sind mit Gott richtig.
And I want to share one verse with you guys.
Ein Vers möchte ich mitteilen.
And with this thought we can close.
Mit diesem Gedanke werden wir schließen.
Let's go to 1 John chapter 2.
1. Johannes Kapitel 2.
Let's read verse 10 and 11.
Und die Verse 10 und 11.
It says, He that loveth his brother abideth in the light. So when you love your brother, what happens to you?
Also wenn du deinen Bruder liebst, was geschieht mit dir?
You abide in the light, right?
Du bleibst in dem Licht.
Verse 11, But he that hateth his brother is in darkness, and walketh in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. So, therefore, we constantly, every day anew, we must test our own hearts. Is there any evil thought harboring there against any of my brethren?
Also beständig, jeden Tag müssen wir forschen, gibt es irgendein böser Gedanke, die ich hege gegen irgendeine von meinen Geschwistern?
And if this is the case,
Und wenn das der Fall sein sollte,
then Satan he will start blinding your eyes.
Wenn das der Fall ist, dann Satan wird anfangen, deine Augen zu blenden.
You will not recognize the sign.
Du wirst den Zeichen nicht erkennen.
You will not flee,
Du wirst nicht fliehen.
and you won't be at the refuge city on time.
Du wirst nicht in der Zufluchtsstadt in der richtigen,
Zur rechten Zeit sein.
zur rechten Zeit sein.
Okay. But if you love your brother, if you make sure that you don't harbor anything against anybody,
Aber wenn du deinen Bruder liebst und du sicher bist, dass du nichts gegen irgendwem hegst,
it can be all kinds of malice, right? It can be jealousy,
alles Mögliche an Bosheit sein,
it can be bitterness,
Eifersucht und Bitterkeit,
unforgiveness,
Unvergebenheit,
or other evil things of our evil heart.
alles
Okay.
Mögliche an Bosheiten in unserem böses Herz,
Some evil surmisings and suspicion and whatever.
so böse Vermutungen und
Verdächtigung.
Verdächtigung und so weiter.
Yeah. So if we harbor these things, then we will fulfill verse 11. If we put these things away, we will fulfill verse 10.
Wenn wir diese Dinge hegen, dann erfüllen wir Vers 11 und wenn wir diese Dinge wegtun, dann erfüllen wir Vers 10.
So it's always our choice.
Das
Okay?
ist immer unsere Wahl.
And therefore, we either will be permitted to enter this refuge city or not.
Also entweder werden wir Zugang zu diesem Zufluchtsstaat gewährt oder nicht.
And God laid down the conditions.
Und Gott hat hier die Bedingungen klar niedergelegt.
Christ must be first and last and everything.
Christus muss Erste und Letzte und das Beste in allem sein.
Amen?
Amen.
Okay. Then let's close with our prayer.
Lasst uns mit unserer Gebetsrunde schließen.